So I'm here with Clayton White, who's a legend in Philadelphia jazz, and wanted to ask him some questions about some of the history because we're featuring his music and Trudy Pitts' music and Duke Ellington and Jay Fluellen and Ruth, Naomi, Floyd. And
you have some really fine people there. Jay was my protege way back when he was a freshman at Temple. He was in my choir.
Yeah.
And I did some of his early music, when he was just a kid. And interestingly enough, Jay is the same age as my son.
Huh.
And so Jay is my musical son. And I've always admired his talent. He's a very talented fellow.
Yeah.
He's a very nice guy.
Right.
But just oozing with talent in terms of as a performer, as a composer, arranger, as a teacher, the whole thing. And as I've gotten older, I have other proteges, who have gotten big in the music business, and it makes me feel good that they have, gone on and carried the torch, so to speak.
Well, what can you tell me about your time with Trudy?
Okay, with Trudy, I met Trudy and Bill at the Afro-American Museum, 30 years or so.
Now, Bill was her husband, Mr. C? Mr.
C. Bill Carney, Mr. C is a drummer.
Okay.
Bill is in 91, 92 now.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
He started out kind of like a song and dance man. He played violin as a kid, played drums. He was in the service. In fact, he was in that group of Marines who recently got medals, the Congressional Medal. I forget what they were, Waterford or something or other. But anyway, it goes way back. So anyway, he came up in the 40s and 50s in South Philly, which had a whole lot of outstanding jazz musicians at the time.
Yeah.
The Heath brothers, for instance, he came up with them. So I met them at a concert at the Afro-American Museum. My choir sang and Trudy's group sang, and her son, T.C. III, who's now established himself as a jazz singer, was a student of mine at community college. And he mentioned his mother, and I didn't get a connection at first because his name was Carney. And then I met Bill and all of a sudden it came together. So anyway, because he was my student and I met them, so we started collaborating on some music. And she kind of picked my brain about how to write for voices, because as a pianist, most pianists, when they write for voices, write piano music.
Right.
That song.
Right.
So I tried to explain to her, about spacing, sonorities, and kind of sort of, and she picked it up quite well. So I ended up being her copyist. So all the things that she wrote out in manuscript, she gave to me.
Right.
And I went on my computer and made the scores for her. And then we developed a personal friendship in terms of our families, having worked together so much musically. And then she worked with my choir many times, and we've done countless performances together.
Right.
As my guest. We also had a series called Jazz in the Sanctuary. The Clef Club down at Lloyd and Fitzwater? Yeah,
right.
Lloyd and Fitzwater.
Right, still there.
Yeah. They got grants back then. So we went to various churches. In fact, we did a concert at the Cathedral with Al Gray. And we played with name musicians. They would come and ask to draw. And then it would be Trudy's quintet, a guest, and the Clayton White singers.
So it was similar to Ellington Sacred Concerts in that it was a concert setting. It wasn't a...
Oh yeah, right.
It wasn't Sunday morning. It was Sunday afternoon or evening.
It was called Jazz Vespers. That's what it was called.
Yeah.
So by definition, it was in the afternoon. And Jazz Vespers was jazz in the church. And interesting enough, some people, well, the more conservative folks didn't want jazz in the church, which is ridiculous, of course. But I wrote a lot of music, sacred music, that had a jazz band playing it. And my favorite psalm is Psalm 150. So all the people who claim that you shouldn't have jazz or rap or pop or whatever, it says, let everything that have breath praise the Lord. So everything is everything.
Yeah.
So that was my whole thing. So we did the Jazz Vespers. I don't know how many, we've done a whole bunch of those.
And when was that, in the 60s, the 70s?
That would be, let me see now. That would be in the 80s.
80s?
Yeah, because I have a really wonderful tape from the Zion Baptist Church. We did a concert there. We did Mother Bethel, so we did the Cathedral and so many other places I don't remember. And then we did some out-of-town things also. And that worked until the funding, had a problem with the funding. But we were able to take the music to churches, and we actually got new audiences, really.
Yeah.
And then with my choir, even though the funding had dried up for the grants, I still did that with my own choir. I've done concerts devoted entirely to Ellington, or concerts that were devoted entirely to spirituals, or concerts that were like a potpourri of music from the Black experience. And I did that all the way until my retirement, and I'm still doing it now.
Yeah.
Wonderful. And now Devon is amazing. I mean, she can do oratorios,
right,
and then turn around and just do jazz, and it all sounds great.
Yeah.
It all sounds really wonderful. And I mentioned before, she was a wonderful resource in terms of helping me understand the scores
right.
from Ellington.
Now, were you and Trudy consciously trying to carry on the tradition of Ellington sacred concerts?
Yes.
Or?
Yeah, exactly. Ellington was her favorite composer and my favorite composer also. And that was just a coincidence. And we collaborated many times on the music. Come Sunday is from the sacred concert, so we have done that a lot of times, even before we did that. And then Trudy wrote A Joyful Noise. A Joyful Noise is a jazz suite based upon Trudy's childhood in South Philly and her introduction to music, and then the relationship of how her spirituality was infused into the music.
Right.
She grew up in church in South Philly. In fact, she played for church as a child before she went into jazz, and she went to Juilliard for a while. But both of us were on the same page in terms of our spirituality and how it was manifest through our music.
Right.
It was different from a lot of churches. 'Cause a lot of black churches now are strictly just a gospel kind that just goes on and on and on and on. But we wanted to bring a different quality, a different kind of music to the churches.
Yeah.
And some walked about it. I remember when we went to Mother Bethel, which was at the time a very conservative church. They walked about having that, and they fussed at me because I had used a hymn book to put under the organ bench. But most were very receptive, and I think it really helped to kind of loosen things up a bit. To understand that, yes, traditionally certain music was not supposed to be in church, but that was just because of the old taboos of going way back to slavery, when anything that was African was wrong.
Right.
And that was infused into some of the churches, and they just kept on not realizing how they were being used and how they were not even employing the very music that their ancestors used.
Yeah. Now, the music and the arrangements you did for Vespers, did you do any of those on Sunday mornings too at your different churches, or pretty much the afternoon?
Well, I played for a long time at Mount Carmel Baptist Church, and which was a mainline Baptist church, Black Baptist church, but I did some different kinds of things, and eventually they warmed up to it. I know I did Come Sunday in the Sunday service, but most of the things were in the afternoon service.
Yeah. And one last thing in terms of styles, some people I know are very purists about the spiritual should only be done in a certain style, no jazz, no gospel. And just it seems like in the pieces we're doing in this concert, there's a lot of overlap, conscious and unconscious, between those three styles.
Well,
in a very natural way.
Outside of my performance and teaching, I have some scholarly achievements, and a lot of them are in the area of African American music. And the fact is that there is really no line between sacred and secular.
Right.
The music is the same. The words are different, but the music's the same.
Yeah.
Excuse me. The rhythms, the harmonies, the style of singing, the call and response, the timbre of the voice, it's just really the same. So since there is no difference between excuse me, sacred and secular in terms of what the music sounds like, it's very easy to combine the two.
Yeah.
Because like the spiritual we're doing at your concert, I would use it to walk with me. It's a standard spiritual.
Right.
I wrote an SATB arrangement for it, but then I decided to add a quintet to it and let it swing, and it fits right perfectly.
Yeah.
Sorry about this call.
That's okay. That's okay.
But there is really no difference, I would say, musically, between secular music and sacred music in the black experience. In fact, the same people who played in the speakeasies and the clubs on Saturday night, they played in church on Sunday morning.
Yeah.
You know, Thomas A. Dorsey, called
Right.
the father of gospel music. Georgia Tommy was called. He played in whorehouses before he got saved, and then he played in church, gospel music. You know, and of course the folks initially didn't want to hear the music they heard on Saturday night played on Sunday morning.
Right.
But that they ease up a bit, and now the black experience is it's just big in terms of all the music that's there and how it interrelates.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for sharing all this history.
No, well, this is off the top of my head with a cold, but sure hope it helps a bit.
Yeah, that was fascinating. Thank you so much.
Good. My pleasure.